Alright, everybody, welcome on back to the Regal Rhino tutorials. Welcome to Industrial Design Class 305. Class A, hey? Hey. Class A, ho? Alright, I'm just messing with y'all. Like normal, I'm in the template. I'm going to get rid of this one just for clarity. Small object inches. Today we are going to work on surfaces. So we did points and then we did curves, and now we're going to make those curves into surfaces. Nothing really crazy. The first thing I want to start off with, I guess, is the planes. They're the most simple and I guess the most utilitarian. You can do corner to corner and then it makes a plane. Let me turn this on shaded so you see the difference. So essentially I have 4 lines and 4 points that are connected. I like to go through this menu. I just like 4 points around whatever object. It's not as detailed, but he does the same work in my opinion. Ooh, a 3-point. Are you serious? I thought this might be a triangle at first. Just a different way of making simple planes. I'm going to hold shift to get a straight line. What's going on here? So we're going in a vertical orientation. If you threw it on a plane and you didn't like it, A, you can remake it, or B, you can rotate. Get me a base. So let's ask, if I wanted to rotate this 45 degrees, how could I do that? Shift only gives me 90s. 45 degrees, yeah. So type in 45 and it'll kick it 45. What if I want to go 45 in the other direction? Yeah, negative 45. Unknown command, what? I believe on the Mac you can do negatives, but it's negative 325, 315, right? Thank you. Not negative 315, because that would be just back to where we were. A regular 315, and there we go. So that one's quite simple. So we talked about curves last time, and y'all got a little preview into what Loft does. So let's make some complex surfaces just for fun. Let's go to a 3-sided now. And how should we finish this off? Any suggestions? Anybody? Any shapes? Any? All right, fine. A square, and then just for fun and slightly egotistical, a giant letter B. All right, we'll leave the B on the bottom. It's going to be a weird flare out. And I'm just going to arrange these. All right, so I got curves stacked upon each other, and Loft will allow me to connect them. It's going to ask me where I want to start on each point, and sometimes you can get ugly results or pretty results based on where you start and finish. It's going to be, the top 3 are going to look fine because they have close to the same perimeter distance. I mean, I realize that it does get larger, but the bottom's going to look weird. It's like you're trying to add fabric when you ran out of fabric, so you kind of got to stitch some in. So I'll show y'all a result. What's fun about this, it gives you different options. So this is a loose interpretation along the curves. Normal, a bit tighter. Tight, we'll just do just that. Make sure it's going through all the points. I typically use tight the most. Straight sections. And make straight sections. Whew. I've never used developable or uniform. I would like to know what the developer does, but I do not know. So let's go tight sections and have the option to close it off, but I don't think it closes off like you typically think of it. It's going to make it fold back in upon itself, but sometimes you do want that, but most of the time I do not, even though that is super cool. Take that off. All right. So I have a fancy hat here. How did I close this? If I want this to be a solid, how do I close it? Solid menu, correct. Yes, well done. Cap planar holes. So now that the top is capped and the bottom is capped. But you can also see like they're not exactly where they used to be. This originally had my 4 corners, and now they're rounded off and the bottom isn't. I can go back and adjust my tolerance if I want to. But that's lofting. Another thing about lofting is you don't really have to obey like a certain spine. So I'm going to take these. I could loft in like this reverse C shape, or I can use the rotate command and start. Come on now. I want to rotate. Thank you. I'm using the space bar to repeat my previous command. All right, let's make sure these line up relatively well. All right. So let's see what output we got. Now, I'm going to mess up on purpose so you remember. You can't just go willy-nilly on when you're going to pick these, because it's going to say, okay, so you want to go to this one first and then back to that one, and it's going to give you output that looks. Yes, is it cool? Of course it is, but you can't have stuff that intersects itself and want to send it to any type of CNC device. Dylan.
Now, if it does intersect itself, is there any way that you can make it like able to be printed? Like if you want that shape, can you just fix it so that you can print it like that?
Yes, you can, but I'd have to go in here, especially the parts like this. But when you, yeah, see how sharp this edge is? It's almost to the point of not being manufacturable. So I could either play with aligning these curves until I got the right output, which sometimes I will. But in this case, I'm just going to redo the entire command in the correct order. Yeah. Anybody remember the snork? Is it snorks?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, shout out to the snorks. All right. Loft kind of makes a center line for you. Sweep one rail, it needs a rail to be swept upon. I hope that doesn't throw anybody for too much of a loop. All right. I got a jacked up line, and I like to fix it, so I'm going to throw me a plane around it and do one of my favorite commands, which is pullback. Against that surface. Yay, it's fixed. Yep. Very, very helpful. Let's make this bigger. All right. It's helpful. Sweep one rail. It wants me to select my rail, and then I can select as many cross-section curves as my heart desires. And once again, you do want to select it in order so you don't get any crazy outputs. All right, so these are where the surface is starting from. And there we go. I don't know what happened in the bottom. Okay, these commands are very important. FreeForm does it as the program sees fit. Road like top as if you're riding along a road from the top view. So maybe I'll give you an example of that to make it a little more clear. We'll hide these. We might come back to them later. 4 corners. There we go. All right, so we're going to make a little a HyperArrow real fast. And I'm going to just play with the heights as well. All right, so now I have some objects to adjust. If I want loft on here, it's going to create my center line for me. See? You see how it gets super thin in this area? A lot of times I want to try to avoid that. I can't do anything with it. It's not, I hate to say that it's not real, but if I can't make it in the real world, I kind of don't want to build it. All right, so let me show you the difference. And I guess near will be an OK command for me to use. That's all types of fun. All right, and I can do sweep one rail. Rail first, cross section profile second. All right, so freeform is as computer sees or figures you wants it. Figures you wants it, wow. So I'm making too tight of a curve, but as I change these options, it'll give me slightly different outputs. Kind of done messing with these ellipses. Let's just go to a curve and then let's get in the front view. Adjust that real fast. Oh, the near command. It's so good and it's so bad. Alright, so if I wanted to make this curve into a surface that does a lot of actions, I'm going to use sweep one rail and we'll kind of give you a spine to run along. Is this going to work? It sure will. Now where I start this is important. Typically I like to start at the end of a line, but I'm going to show what happens if you start it at the midpoint of a line. Rail, profile. Now, why would you flip like that? Because it's assuming that it wants you to run like a road from the top, and so it self-intersects, and that's why it's nice to have all those options. Very interesting. You might know what I just did on accident. I told that my cross section profile was the rail, and I did the opposite for the actual rail, and you get fun looking shapes. Cancel that. So I'd really like to finish this out. There we go. So obviously you can't do that with Loft. Little kink. So let's jump to our next one, sweep 2 rail. I really want to use a spiral. Keep it simple. Good. I'm going to copy paste it and make the second one smaller. There we go. It's like one of these type of commands you can only do with sweep 2 rail. So let me grab something to make a surface with. Zoom in a bit. And I'm kind of lost. Reset. There we go. So let's just sweep 2 rail. 1 rail, 2 rail, cross section, fun spiral. And I can do this with really anything I want to. One rail, 2 rail, cross section. Not reality, you could do this with sweep 1 rail, so I'm going to show you let's taper this guy out some. So we really should get some fun results from this one. First rail, second rail, object. That's closer to one-on-one. It still is kind of do some intersection stuff. I wish it wouldn't. So let's take on the last. Well, Revolve is anything that you could. Most bottles or most things that could be thrown on a pottery wheel, you can make with Revolve. So typically, I don't think of it as a surface that I'm fixing to make. I think of it more as a profile. And I'd like that to line up. So I guess I could turn my S track on. I want that guy to line up with that guy. Very good. And we can do, I made it in the wrong view. It's okay. I'm going to rotate it up. Shaded. Maybe that's why that was so weird. I somehow got my perspective upside down. And we're back. All right, so let's do Revolve. Give it an axis. How many angles? Typically, I like to go for full circle, but if you want partial, you can do any degree you really feel you want to. So now I got an obese bowling pin. So this is very handy if you're making something that has like radial symmetry. Sometimes I really wish I knew what I was making, but I don't. Weird graduation hat. I'm going to turn this into, with my Revolve, put my axis out here, full circle, and now I got an interesting rim. You just think of things in terms of profiles, and then you can bring these back. I'm gonna make us a quick bottle, and that'll kind of segue us into the last command for the day. All right, so fall off this, I'll get a bottle, yes. Or a carafe or some type of pouring vessel. Now I'll have so much control. I could come in here and lay down a sweeping rail and get a little more control. But if I really want to mess with the curvature of the bottle, I like where I'm going, I just think it's kind of ugly. Okay. Now I can do sweep to rail and get more control. And then I can select as many cross-section profiles as I'd like. That was nice. All right, we're going to come back to this for blend surface in just a bit. I want a quick overview of Rail Revolve. S-track real fast. Mirror that over. Join you guys. And I don't use this command very much, but it can come in handy if it's one of those situations like, well, I just can't get exactly what I want, try Revolve. And I need to find what I believe is my center point. That'll work. Edge. Now I can do Revolve. Profile. I think I messed this up. Profile. Then my rail is going to sweep along. And then my axis. And I can adjust this and get different outcomes because this is the profile that's kind of variable. Turn this off. Repeat. Rail Revolve. The candy dish. Or a weird leaf. All right, now we're fixing to get to one of my favorite commands, at least my favorite command of the day. The blend surface. It's like Loft, except you get more control. Let me, I'm just gonna extrude this and make me a surface. So if I want to blend the surface between here and here, simple, blend surface. But it gives me more control in the sense of it reads the tangency off the object that it came from and goes to. So if I want to just so right there, there's your loft, but this gives me more options. It does look like a hoof. All right, so this is a simple way to do it. I was doing some research on different ways to use this command before lunch. But I'm kind of have this good shape going on, and I don't really want to screw it up with something rather atrocious. And I kind of want to get rid of some control points I have. I think I have too many. Come on, please. Turn those off. And I'm going to cut straight through this vessel. Extrude curve. So I want to split. I want to have a void in the middle. Correct. So in this guy with this guy. So there we go. Now I have a surface here on the near side and a surface on the far side. Blend the surface between this one and this one. And this will let me play with the tangencies from the surface. But I'll be honest with y'all, this going on here, this kind of pinching action, I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going to take this a step further. That could work. And I'm getting that pinching action again. No. Alright, so that works, but if I want to have more control over transitioning from the outside to the inside, I'm going to cut some of this guy out. So I'm coming inside the vessel, and I'm going to use our split tool once again. So I'm going to split the surface we just made with the box, delete that and delete that. So now I have the inner area that I like grabbing. And now I can do blend the surface between the outside and the insides. So in a way, it's like making a radius edged or a blended edge. And my favorite thing is it reads the tangencies, so you don't have to work so hard to make things look cohesive. That's too hard.
You have to do that to both sides, or does it do?
I have to go back to do it to both sides, but if I wanted to, it gives me those numbers. Let me see a rendered view.
Ooh.
Everything looks better in rendered view.
That's like an awesome grid of hills here.
The rectangle, it just gave me more surfaces to blend to. So this is what it gave me originally, and I was like, I'm not a big fan of how tight that is. So I came back and did another blend surface where it wasn't as tight. Or it's compressed. There we go. I had same height selected, so let me see what happens if I didn't select this option. Yep, get a little pinching. Actually, that'll work okay. Neato burrito. I believe somebody said something about a duck earlier during the day. Dylan, was that you?
Yes.
Well, this is straight from the Rhino 4 tutorial.
The one that Andy gave us?
Yeah.
Was there a duck in that one? Give me a little duck tail. Ooh. I got to rebuild it. I don't have enough control points. Give me 10 by 10. Turn those off. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in with either... I'm going to make curves and turn them into a surface and then cut part of the back of the head and part of the shoulders, I guess, out so I can do a blend surface. A bit higher. Does this make sense what I'm doing so far?
Yeah.
I'm going to extrude through and get rid of some of these domed pieces. So split that guy and that guy with my cutting surface, and now I can get rid of extra stuff.
How did you just do that whole box?
I made, back up just a second, there was a question of how I made this extruded box.
Yeah. So I remember learning to do this and he didn't use the box.
Yeah,
This seems much easier to do.
Yes. I made a curve, and then I extruded the curve through. If I wanted to make a solid out of that, I can do extrude planar curve using the same output, except this time it's capped, and both will be used, to get the job done.
The other tutorial is like make separate planes.
Essentially, that's what I've done, though. I have a plane on top and a plane on bottom.
Yeah.
I just,
But you did it all in one.
yeah.
Okay.
So split my duck pieces with my input. And I have a feeling this might not work, but maybe it will. Second edge. That is a skinny neck, Mr. Duck.
Do you need a lift?
Let me go into the rendered view, but I mean, I really enjoy that you can get a fade into another surface as you transition. All right, so that's our duck for the day.
That's what you do.